The 1970s gave us some of television's most memorable music. But here's what most people don't realize. The theme songs that really defined the decade weren't always the biggest hits. They were the forgotten gems that somehow burrowed into your brain and stayed there for 50 years, waiting for just the right moment to transport you back to Saturday mornings and after-school reruns. From animated adventures that made you drop your homework, to dramatic openings that had your whole family humming along. These weren't just musical introductions. They were time machines disguised as TV themes, each one capable of instantly recreating the feeling of being a kid in the 70s. Today, we're counting down 10 forgotten TV theme songs from the 1970s that instantly take you back. And trust me, number 3 will have you singing along before we even finish the first verse. Number 10, SWAT, 1975 to 1976. You think you remember all the great cop show themes? But this one was pure adrenaline that conquered the music charts. When SWAT premiered in 1975, its theme song didn't just introduce a TV show. It announced that something intense was about to happen. That driving rhythm, those dramatic horns, and that unmistakable bass line. They created an atmosphere of urban tension that made your heart race before the first scene even started. The genius was in its urgency. Unlike other police themes that were heroic or noble, this one felt dangerous. It sounded like the city itself, fast, unpredictable, and slightly out of control. It perfectly captured the gritty reality of 1970s law enforcement. But here's what made it legendary. The theme became a #1 hit single. It reached the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and spent 6 weeks in the top 10. A TV theme song had become a legitimate chart topper, proving that great music could transcend its original purpose. Even today, hearing those opening notes instantly transports you back to a time when police shows were grittier. Cities felt more dangerous. And TV themes actually rocked hard enough to dominate radio. But if you think that was intense, wait until you hear how one Western theme captured the loneliness of the frontier. Number 9, The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, 1977 to 1978.
There's a world where we don't have to run, baby.
This wasn't just a theme song. It was a folk ballad that made wilderness living sound like poetry. When The Life and Times of Grizzly Adams premiered, its gentle acoustic theme perfectly captured the show's message about finding peace in nature. That soft guitar, those heartfelt lyrics about living free in the mountains. And Dan Haggerty's rugged charm created a musical escape from the complexities of modern life. The brilliance was in its simplicity. While other shows had elaborate orchestral themes, Grizzly Adams just had a man, a guitar, and a story about choosing nature over civilization. It felt authentic, like something you might hear around a real campfire. But what made it stick was its message. In the late 70s, when America was dealing with economic uncertainty and social change, the idea of escaping to the mountains and living simply resonated deeply. The theme became a quiet anthem for anyone who ever dreamed of leaving it all behind. It wasn't flashy or traditional, but it captured a feeling many people couldn't shake. However, one science fiction series created a theme that sounded like the future itself. Number 8, Space, 1999, 1975 to 1977. Most sci-fi themes tried to sound futuristic. This one actually evolved with the times. When Space, 1999 premiered, its theme song didn't just set the mood, it created an entirely new sonic landscape. Electronic elements blended with traditional orchestration, making it clear you were about to experience something unlike anything else on television. The genius was in its atmosphere. The theme didn't tell you a story or introduce characters. It made you feel like you were floating in the vastness of space. Lonely, mysterious, slightly unsettling. perfectly matching the show's premise of humans stranded on a runaway moon. But here's what made it revolutionary. Season 1 leaned on orchestral arrangements with electronic touches. Season 2 embraced synthesizers more fully, helping to establish the template for sci-fi television music that followed. This theme quietly changed everything. It influenced countless soundtracks, proving that sometimes the most forgotten songs are the ones that shape the future. Yet, one variety show created a theme that turned chaos into musical magic. Number 7. Donnie and Marie, 1976 to 1979. This theme didn't just introduce a variety show, it captured the pure joy of sibling harmony. When Donnie and Marie premiered, its upbeat theme perfectly embodied the show's wholesome energy. Those bright harmonies, that infectious rhythm, and the Osmonds' genuine chemistry created a musical celebration that made Friday nights feel special. The brilliance was in its optimism. In a decade filled with social upheaval and uncertainty, Donnie and Marie promised an hour of uncomplicated fun. It was musical comfort food that lifted spirits every time. But what made it unforgettable was how it marked the end of an era. The last gasp of truly innocent variety television, before cynicism and irony began to dominate popular culture. Hearing it today instantly takes you back to a time when families gathered around the TV for wholesome entertainment, and that felt like enough. But while some themes celebrated innocence, others embraced the darker side of the decade. Number 6. Beretta, 1975 to 1978. Most detective themes were tough and gritty, but this one was soulful and street smart. When Beretta premiered, its theme song, Keep Your Eye on the Sparrow, didn't just introduce a cop show, it introduced a philosophy. Rhythm. Heritage's smooth performance, that laid-back groove, and those lyrics about survival in the urban jungle created a theme that felt more like a life lesson than a TV introduction. The genius was in its authenticity. Unlike other police themes that glorified law enforcement, Beretta's theme acknowledged the complexity of street life. It was wise, weary, and realistic about the challenges of staying honest in a corrupt world. And here's what made it special. The theme became a top 20 hit, perfectly capturing the show's unique blend of street smarts and moral complexity. It was the sound of 1970s urban reality, set to music. The theme influenced how television portrayed urban crime, showing that cop shows could be entertaining and socially conscious. However, one children's show created a theme that made learning feel like the greatest adventure of all. Number 5. The Electric Company, 1971 to 1977. This wasn't just an educational theme, it was a funk masterpiece disguised as children's television. When The Electric Company premiered, its theme didn't sound like typical kids' TV. That driving bass line, those tight horns, that infectious groove. It created a musical experience cooler than most adult shows. The brilliance was in its sophistication. While other educational shows talked down to kids, The Electric Company treated them like they could handle real music. It was funky, complex, and utterly irresistible. But what made it unforgettable was how it made education feel exciting. The theme promised that learning could be fun, creative, even a little rebellious. It was knowledge, with attitude. It influenced a generation of kids who grew up believing learning should always have a great soundtrack. It proved that educational television didn't have to be boring. It just had to be smart. Yet one adventure series created a theme that made the impossible seem routine. Number 4. The $6 Million Man, 1973 to 1978. Most superhero themes were bombastic. This one was eerily mechanical. When the $6 Million Man premiered, its theme didn't celebrate heroism. It celebrated technology. Those electronic sounds, that robotic rhythm, those bionic effects. They created a musical representation of man merging with machine. The genius was in its uniqueness. It didn't sound like traditional superhero music. It sounded like the future. Cold, precise, slightly unsettling. Perfectly matching Steve Austin's transformation from man to cyborg. But here's what made it iconic. It made technology sound both amazing and terrifying. The theme captured the 70s fascination with scientific advancements, while hinting at the potential cost of progress. Hearing it today instantly transports you back to a time when the future seemed both exciting and uncertain, and when TV could make you believe that anything was scientifically possible. However, one crime drama created a theme that turned investigation into art. Number 3, Columbo, 1971 to 1978. You think you know detective music, but this theme was pure psychological sophistication. When Columbo premiered, its theme didn't sound like a typical crime drama. That mysterious melody, those subtle orchestrations, that quiet intelligence. It created a musical detective story as compelling as the show itself. The brilliance was in its restraint. While other detective themes were loud and dramatic, Columbo's was thoughtful and introspective. It sounded like the inside of a brilliant mind working through a puzzle. And here's what made it perfect. It captured Peter Falk's character completely. The theme was deceptively simple on the surface, but revealed layers of complexity the more you listen, just like Columbo himself. The music became inseparable from the character, creating an atmosphere of intellectual suspense that made every episode feel like a masterclass in deduction. But while some themes celebrated intelligence, others captured the pure spirit of adventure. Number 2, Emergency, 1972 to 1977. This wasn't just a theme song, it was the sound of heroes in action. When Emergency premiered, its theme didn't just introduce a medical drama, it created an atmosphere of life and death urgency. Those driving drums, that heroic melody, those realistic sound effects. They made you feel like you were riding along on actual rescue calls. The genius was in its authenticity. The theme incorporated real emergency sounds, sirens, radio chatter, medical equipment, creating a musical experience that felt documentary real rather than Hollywood polished. But what made it unforgettable was how it elevated everyday heroes. The theme showed that paramedics and firefighters were just as epic as any fictional character. It influenced how America thought about first responders, helping establish the modern respect for emergency medical services that continues today. But one theme stands above all others. Creating a musical experience so perfect, it defined an entire era of television. Number 1, The Rockford Files, 1974 to 1980. This wasn't just a theme song, it was the sound of cool itself, set to music. When The Rockford Files premiered, its theme didn't just introduce a detective show, it set a new standard for television music. That smooth bass line, those jazz-influenced harmonies, that laid-back groove, they perfectly captured Jim Rockford's unconventional style of private investigation. The brilliance was in its sophistication. Composed by Mike Post and Pete Carpenter, the theme was musically complex enough to stand as a jazz piece, yet accessible enough to appeal to mainstream audiences. But here's what made it legendary. It won the 1975 Grammy Award for Best Instrumental Arrangement. One of the few TV themes ever to earn that honor. It proved television music could be taken seriously as art, not just background noise. The theme influenced countless composers, establishing the template for modern TV music. It was cool without trying too hard, sophisticated without being pretentious, memorable without being obvious. Even today, those opening notes instantly take you back to a time when TV themes were genuine musical experiences. And when being cool was an art form Jim Rockford had perfected. Television themes of the 70s weren't just background music. They were emotional time machines that can still transport you instantly. From the funk of the Electric Company to the sophistication of the Rockford Files, each one captured something essential about the decade. The 70s proved that great television music created atmosphere, established character, and most importantly, made you feel something. So tell us, which of these forgotten themes brought back the strongest memories? And which one do you think deserves to be remembered alongside the more famous TV songs of the era? Let us know in the comments below. And if you love this musical journey through television's past, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll really help us out. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you on the next one.